There are many laws of logic, which are also sometimes referred to as the laws of thought, but I will be focusing on the three most common, or canonical laws of logic in this video, and related terminology I think is helpful to try to understand them better. The laws of logic are merely descriptive principles of logic, or axioms, from which classical logic is predicated upon that extend from propositions to ontological states. As analytical propositions, they are a priori knowledge which is known by a priori justification independent of experience. Often these laws of logic can often extend to other forms of logic, or semantic interpretations. However, many forms of logic deny or exclude them outright, such as paraconsistent logic. Paraconsistent logic is a logical system which allows for contradictions without falling into the principle of explosion, ex contradictione quodlibet. A type of paraconsistent logic view called dialetheism allows a logical system to have true contradictions, where there are statements that are both true and false. More precisely, it is the belief that there can be a true statement whose negation is also true. This type of logic is often helpful when dealing with logical paradoxes such as the liar's paradox. Additional examples of logics that don't necessarily use the canonical laws of logic would be fuzzy logic, intuitionistic logic, and any type of logic that allow for truth-value gluts, where a propositional sentence is both true and false, and truth-value gaps, where a propositional sentence is neither true nor false. The law of identity is what some consider the most foundational of all logical axioms. Socrates implied it in Plato's Theaetetus by asking the question, then do you think that each differs to the other, and is identical to itself? Bertrand Russell explicitly described it as whatever is, which is a more shortened version of Parmenides's philosophy of whatever is, and what is not cannot be, while Leibniz referred to it as everything is what it is, and what is not cannot be, and Aristotle considered it to be the most fundamental law and obvious truth. Identity is a type of binary relationship which is between the object of equality and itself. This is very closely related to a second-order logical principle known to as what Leibniz referred to as identity of indiscernibility. Read as for all of x and y, if x and y have the same properties, then x is identical to y, where the term f sub x represents the properties of x, and the term f sub y represents the properties of y. In other words, the capital letter F here represent properties, while lowercase letters of x and y represent subjects and referential expressions. This can also be more explicitly defined by all of f. If x and y have all the same properties, then they are equal to each other, or more specifically, they are the same object, where x is the same as y by definition, given they have exactly the same properties. For example, 0.9 repeating is equal to 1 because the symbol for 0.9 repeating is just a different type of signifier, which is an infinite decimal expansion, that represents the number 1, as both have exactly the same properties, as they both exist at the same exact point on the real number line and are the same exact value, but merely being represented by different symbols. If x is equal to 0.9 repeating, and y is equal to 1, then by applying the law of indiscernibility we know that both the number 0.9 repeating, and the number 1, having the exact same mathematical properties, must be the same exact number. The law of non-contradiction holds that a proposition cannot be both true and false at the same time. Propositionally, the law of non-contradiction can be defined tautologically as, p and negation p is always false. Meaning, for given any proposition, that proposition cannot be both true and false at the same time, or given any two propositions, such as, A is B, or A is not B, the two propositions are mutually exclusive, as A cannot both be B and not B at the same time. This can also be expressed in terms of metatheory as, for all propositions it must be the case that the proposition is true or its negation is true, wherein negation of P is equivalent to P is false. By use of one of De Morgan's laws, you can derive from the law of non-contradiction, the law of excluded middle, which holds that a proposition must be either true or false. Propositionally, the law of excluded middle can then be defined tautologically as P or not P. Or explicitly by law of negation, as P or P not P is always true. I hope this video helped explain the basic laws of logic, and if you have any questions or have a suggestion for a future video, please comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.